Hi everybody, this is the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast.
Each badger marks the track with its own scent.
His black legs are short but very powerful for digging. In fact, the name badger probably comes from the French word bêcher, meaning digger.
It's that badger style.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast. You know the score by now. Some great guests, me chatting, I'm James, and plenty to look forward to this week. I think, and I'm not just saying this, that this is the best one yet. We've got a three-way interview with Andrew Gale, Anthony McGrath and Kevin Sharp, talking about their counties, their jobs as head coaches at Yorkshire, Essex and Worcestershire respectively. It's a really interesting little chat and you'll hear the relationship that they have with each other. Some talk about their stats and their philosophies on coaching. And we also have this week Worcestershire batsman and PCA chairman Daryl Mitchell. He's answering the Cricket Badger quick questions, but there's plenty of chat as well about the 100 and Worcestershire's season. Don't take my word for it. It's all here on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast.
It's that badger style.
First up then, Andrew Gale, Anthony McGrath and Kevin Sharp all together talking about coaching and their times at Yorkshire, Essex and Worcestershire over the last year and their hopes for next season. It's a pleasure then on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast this week to have three special guests on. Andrew Gale, we'll go with you first. How are you, Gailey?
Very well, thanks.
And Anthony McGrath, you're there?
I'm very well, thanks, James.
And finally, last but not least, Mr. Kevin Sharp.
Yes, the oldest one's here.
You're the only one that played cricket in black and white, aren't you, Kev?
I hear still the people in London still watch black and white television.
We'll start off with you, Kev, because you had a terrific season at Worcestershire. Obviously, disappointment in the championship, but T20 success and a good run in the other one day.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride of a season, as they always are. But you know, our one day form has been exceptional. Obviously, we got to a semi-final. We were very close, 3 balls away from a Lord's final. The game could have gone either way. It was a fantastic game of cricket against Kent. And then obviously to get to finals day for the first time for the club was a big occasion. It was just a wonderful day out, really. The lads really kind of enjoyed themselves and played good cricket and deserved to win in the end.
And has the hangover gone yet?
Well, I've been away for 3 weeks on a detox. I've been hiking in the mountains in the Himalayas and didn't have any alcohol or a coffee for 18 days, would you believe?
No, I don't believe that.
It's absolutely true, and I'm absolutely fit as a fiddle. You know, I've lost loads of weight.
You needed to.
No comment.
Mags, we'll go on to you. You've had obviously taken over from Chris Silverwood, your first season in charge at Essex, while you were obviously there before. It was a tough act to follow, wasn't it, having won the championship, but you didn't do too bad.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased really with how our season went. We were a little disappointed in the T20, but that's kind of the nature of the competition. But I think third were a pretty good reflection where we're at this year. Always, as you said, difficult to back up winning a trophy, but all in all, I think we're building nicely. We've still got the majority of our squad together with some good young lads coming through. So I'm quite optimistic of where we're going.
And Gailey, last but not least, you had your challenges in 2018, but I don't think a fourth place finish was too bad in the end.
No, it was a tough season. We had a lot of external factors that had affected us. IPL call-ups, losing our spinner just before the season. A lot of players out of contracts, negotiations going on while the season went on. But no, I think all in all, we had a really strong finish to the season. The last 6 weeks we performed really well under pressure, and we got a fourth place finish in the championship. Semi-final in the 50 over comp, which we're pleased with. Just unfortunate we had a few players with England in the knockout stages. I guess the biggest disappointment was the T20, just missing out on qualification, 1 win away from qualifying. We felt we played some good cricket, but inconsistent at times. So no, I think we're going in the right direction. We're obviously going through a bit of a transitional stage. The expectation of Yorkshire cricket is still there, that from the good times that we had 3 or 4 years ago. But the young players are coming along nicely, so I think we're heading in the right direction.
I saw Michael Vaughan did a tweet just recently, guys. The number of Yorkshiremen that are coaching counties or in coaching roles around the country is phenomenal. We've obviously got 3 on the line today. Chalky's obviously just left Hampshire, but what is it about Yorkshiremen that seems to make them good coaches and gets them into jobs like this?
Well, I'll answer that if you want. I think first and foremost, it's just in your blood. You're brought up with it, and I think there's a tremendous work ethic there right from a young age. I think everyone looks at Yorkshire cricket, the way that they bring their own players through, and see it as a blueprint for county cricket, really. And I think everyone has admired that and tried to replicate it in some way or another over the years, and I think that's why people want to employ people from that blueprint, really.
Would you agree with that, Max?
Yeah, I think there's certainly that. As Gailey said, it's a big sport in the county of Yorkshire. A lot of tradition there. I think things go in cycles as well. I think sometimes you get coincidences where a group of people from the same place are all in, working in the same spot or same environment. So I think there's a bit of both. But certainly, I'd agree with Gailey that you're kind of brought up with it. And if you're interested in cricket, you can't really get away with it, working in Yorkshire. And certainly how we're kind of brought through the ranks and through the ages, you pick up a lot of stuff. So, the knowledge is there. I guess it's just tapping into it, really.
And Sharpie, on the circuit now, when you're going around and you're playing your former colleagues, it must add a little bit of bite and a little bit of spice to it, does it, when you've got somebody else that you know very well on the other side?
Yeah, I think that, the beauty of the area that has gone before us is that everybody knows each other. It's not just Yorkshiremen knowing Yorkshiremen, but, wherever you go, there's whoever's a coach of the opposition, you generally know who they are, so you've always got something to relate to. But I totally agree with the lads what they're saying. I think that, certainly I was brought up in an era that in Yorkshire cricket that was very disciplined, right from the clothes that you wear to the timekeeping, to have a shave every day. And I think it's in the blood. What Andrew said there is I do relate very strongly to, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's as if I can remember when I left Yorkshire as a coach a few years ago, I felt as though I'd still got something to offer, and I didn't really want to go away from the game. So to have had another opportunity at another county, I've been very grateful for and, very passionate about. So it's great to see Mags and Gailey and, Richard Dawson at Gloucester. Obviously, Chalky's just left Hampshire, but I don't know what the future has for him. I haven't spoke to him recently, but I'm sure he'd still want to stay in the game. So no, it's all very healthy, and all credit to Yorkshire cricket and what it's produced over the years.
And Sharpie, you told the story on this podcast about how you kind of worked with Joe Root as a youngster, but the other 2 guys on the line now, you work very very closely with both Gailey and Mags. What are your recollections of seeing those 2 for the first time?
Well, Gailey had a strong bottom hand. But no, look, I mean, we only talked about this a few weeks ago. I can remember that, Andrew and I go back from him being quite young, and we've always had a very healthy sharing of information, whether it's been positive or negative. I can remember him throwing the towel in one day in India. He got a bit stroppy on the wet wicket, but he came round a bit eventually. And Mags, I knew from, before I went back to Yorkshire as a coach, I mean, I was working at Bradford Leeds Uni, and that's where I first met Mags, and we got together and just started to work on a bit of his technique, really. And hopefully that was helpful. But very sort of feel as though with these lads it's almost like there's a real strong bond, strong relationships. There's been a lot of trust and a lot of faith in each other, and I certainly, from a coaching perspective, I think that I certainly based my philosophy around building relationships and trust, and although we pull each other's leg all the time, I think that we care a lot for each other.
When you first see a young Gailey or a young Mags, is it easy to spot that they're going to go on and make a county career of it, or what was it about them that impressed you?
Well, I think it's not just about having skill and ability, it's about attitude, and it's about being able to cope at the higher level, and not let the pressure of that be too intense. I think you've still got to, no matter what level that you play at, you've still got to enjoy it and have fun. Like, I think that's when you do play at your best. I mean, when I look at Rooty now, obviously knowing him since he was a young boy, you always knew that he had something special about him in his approach and his attitude, and you see him still play today, and he plays with a smile on his face, and I think that's important.
are offering you the opportunity to play your part in the growth of the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast. We have quite literally gone through the roof in terms of listeners over the last year, and there's an opportunity for you to get your business in front of the cricket world by sponsoring or advertising on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast. We're giving away headline sponsorship and also a maximum of 4 adverts per week. Get yourself on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast. Get yourself in front of our fantastic listeners and help the podcast continue to grow. We've had some fantastic guests over the last year. I've lost count of the number of test caps and captains that we've had. Some great stories too. And you could be alongside those big names offering your services to the cricket world. Get in touch, cricketbadger@hotmail.com, or telephone James on 077 999 64812 to grab this with both hands. Don't let it drop through your fingers. And Mags, you got good memories of working with Sharpie?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I mean, going into coaching now, pick out the best elements of coaches you've worked with or senior players and try and mould that into your own personality. And certainly Kev was one of the best batting coaches I work with and still use and pinch some of his drills. So that probably tells you a lot. But no, it was great to work with. I think going back to the old Yorkshire days, I want a lot of coaching about players were probably a bit more self-sufficient then. You had to work on your own game. So I found it really refreshing to kind of offload a lot of stuff to Kev before he even came and coached with Yorkshire and worked with him away from the ground. And I think, as Kev said, it's so important getting that trust and relationship with a coach. And of course, as a professional sportsman, you've got to be tough, but having someone to believe in you, push you in the right direction means a hell of a lot. So, I think certainly, since I worked with Kev, I think the last part of my career, 8-9 years, were probably my most successful individually.
I always thought of you, Mags, you were a better player after you played for England than when you got picked for it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, yeah. I was pretty inconsistent, really, up to 27, 28. But I think, as I say, after that, I was pretty good for the remaining time. So, let's say people develop and mature, I guess, and grow at different times. And I think it's just about, as you say, if you do click with someone and work with someone closely, you kind of know you're on the right path. So, I think that's a fair assessment.
And Gailey, your memories of first meeting Mr. Sharp, did you take a lot from when you were playing, you work with coaches, when you're sitting down and you're planning your attack, do you take a lot from who you worked with in the past?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Kev came just at the right time for me in my career. I'd played a game for North of England, and we sort of met when he was at the university. So we started working together when he was coaching at the university. And I think coaching back then at Yorkshire was very result orientated. So it was very old school. It was all about nets. And the work that I did with Kev was more on the process. I was able to sit down with him and talk about my batting, how I go about my batting, the feel side of batting, and the mental approach to batting. So that was the first time in my career that I'd come across that. I think it was all judged on the right-hand column at that time. So to be able to sit down with someone and talk through the processes was a relief, really, and I think it helped advance my career a lot quicker than had it done if I wouldn't have had Kev there, really. So, I've got a lot of praise for Kev.
I've looked at all three of your stats, and there's actually not a huge amount between you three as players. Obviously, Mags played for England, and as we said, Sharp, you played in the black and white era before T20 came about. But in terms of your stats, how much do you think you guys know about your own stats and the other two guys' stats in terms of your own?
I saw an article from Mike Hussey the other day about how you're remembered as a player, and I think, I've only come to realise this a year after retiring, that you start to realise that you're not really judged on your stats, you're judged on the way you approach the game and certain innings that you played. You always, as a player, you were caught up in stats, how many hundreds you got, how many runs you got a season, and when you take a couple of years out of the game, you realise that it's the match-winning contributions that you were judged on and the approach that you had to the game. So, you sort of, I would imagine by now Kev's probably forgotten his stats, That's all easy.
Is that 2-inch waist?
But yeah, I think you sort of get caught up as a player just on stats over a season and what you average. Whereas when you finish, you realise it's when you're judging players on the stats at the end of the season, but you're judging players on how they go about the cricket, the daily approach to it, and how many match-winning performances they produce.
Is that right, Kev? Do you look at a player, and obviously the runs are important, but it's when they get the runs that count?
I think so. I think it depends on conditions as well. I mean, I'm that old that I played on uncovered wickets going back to the late 70s, and those were very different challenges. I mean, you play on wet wickets and things like that with dry footholds, and so obviously batting was a lot harder in those days.
They used to bowl underarm, didn't they, Kev?
The batting was a lot harder in the 70s and 80s. Obviously, the pitch at Headingley wasn't as flat as it was in the 2000s. That's my excuse, anyway. for probably having a slightly lesser average than these two.
But did you wear a helmet in your days, Kev? Could you get it over that big curly mop of yours?
Well, helmets came out. I think the first helmet was worn by a Yorkshire cricketer in 1980, and it was John Hampshire wore a motorbike helmet against Colin Croft at Headingley in a Roses match, and then helmets, they became very important after that. But the first 4 years of my professional career was played with no helmets. No, but you didn't know any different then. Actually, I can remember the first time I wore one. I felt quite safe, actually.
Yeah.
I thought, well, at least I can't, at least my brain's safe. Not that. No. I'm sure those two would have a comment on that.
We'll finish off this, and thanks ever so much, all three of you, for joining me on the show this week. But let's finish off with a couple of rounds of top trumps then on your stats. We'll start off with highest score. We'll do first class stats because that's format that all three of you played. Who out of you three do you think got the highest score? And can you remember what your own highest score in first class cricket was?
Well, I can go first on that. My highest score in first class cricket was 181 against Gloucestershire at Harrogate.
Correct answer.
And I'm sure those two have beaten that. I know Mags has.
I don't know my highest score, but I know it was 200 and something, but I'm sure Gailey got a big double at Scarborough. I don't know who it was against, but I'm sure it was a big double. So I'd say Gailey.
Yeah, 272 at Scarborough against.
There you go.
So I don't know if that's top trumps. I'm not sure.
Gailey's top with 272. Your highest was 211, Mags.
211.
Your average is, and bearing in mind Kev's caveat about playing on undercovered pitches and it being so much harder then, there's not much between you two, Gailey and Mags. Which one of you two thinks got the highest average?
I reckon Mags has, but he's played a load more games than me.
I don't know, actually.
Mags 36.83, Gailey 36.03. So not a lot between you. But you're right, Gailey. Mags has played 100 games more than you in first class cricket. Yeah.
He played forever.
and finally on this one, you all played enough games for this to make a difference. In terms of not outs, who do you reckon was the most? I was going to say selfish batsman and keeping the red ink there, but who had the most not outs of you three?
It wouldn't have been me. I was always out.
I was going to say Kev actually, because didn't he bat number 7 or 8? So he was always out.
Well, I'll tell you, you're right, Gailey, because not necessarily in the position he batted, but Kevin Sharp 38 not outs, Mags 30, and Andrew Gale 18. Yeah, Sharpie, you played for your average, didn't you?
Yeah, didn't give it away.
Very selfish, obviously.
To finish off, guys, one by one, I know Gailey needs to get off and pick the kids up. What are your hopes for the 2019 cricket season? Start with you, Gailey.
Like I said, we are going through a bit of a transition, but we just want to be competitive again. It'd be nice to pick up a trophy. There's a lot of expectation at Yorkshire to do that. But, if we can finish a place higher or go one further and pick up a trophy, if we can get to a Lord's final or get to knockout stages, the T20 finals day, then that's progression in my eyes. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're going to win all 3 trophies, but we want to get to a finals day or a Lord's final or finish in the top 3 of the championship.
Mags at Essex?
We'd like to win a trophy, of course. It's our 3rd year now in Division 1, so to consolidate that, I think we've got a good red ball squad. I think the main thing for us as a club is to continue bringing through our own. I think we've 16 out of 20 now have come through the Essex system, so that's important to everyone there. So to keep giving the younger players a chance. But I think, certainly the Championship, but I think 2020, we've been poor the last 2 years, so we really need to address that. So I think, I'd like us to have a really good run in that competition next season.
You want to try and take Kev's trophy off him, do you?
Right.
I'm actually just sat next to it,
Are you in bed?
It's in our coach's office. Sat here, looking very proud of it.
And you presumably you want to try and retain that, Kev. But what are the hopes you got for 2019?
Well, I think the key for us is promotion back into the Division 1 of the Championship. We've been a club who's traditionally fluctuated between the two divisions in Championship cricket over the last few years. Never quite been able to hold its own in the Premier Division, and the club's goal is to really try and maintain some stability in Division 1 Championship cricket. So promotion next year with a view to the next certainly 5 years of maintaining some stability in Division 1 and being able to compete to stay in that division. And hopefully with, still having a relatively young squad in age. They've played a lot of cricket now, so we're kind of hoping that we'll get into a position to be able to do that.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure having you on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast this week. To all three of you, good luck for next season, and thank you for joining me.
Pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Good to talk to you, boys. I'll be in touch.
Cheers. Be in touch. Go well, lads.
Cheers.
Hi, my name is Brian Lara, and you're listening to the Cricket Badger podcast.
It's that Badger style.
Enjoyed that, chatting to the three Yorkies, Gailey, Mags and Sharpie. Wish them all the best for the winter months and the season ahead in 2019. And now we move again to Worcestershire. It's Daryl Mitchell, legend at New Road, PCA chairman, heavily involved in the discussion process around the 100 and the changes in the domestic scene. And he answers the Cricket Badger quick questions this week. Daryl Mitchell, great pleasure to have you on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast this week. We'll get straight into the questions, Daryl. If not a cricketer, what would you have done with your life?
I think a PE teacher, that's what my degree was sort of aimed towards. So yeah, I think probably got into being a PE teacher in somewhere.
What was the biggest influence on your career?
Biggest person would be Damien D'Oliveira from going through, so he'd been my biggest influence, definitely going through the academy from about 14 right up, even when I was sort of captain in the first team. He's still my sort of go-to man until he sort of sadly passed away. So yeah, I'd say him.
Who was your hero as a child?
Graham Hick, definitely, for obvious reasons with the Worcester connection.
He was a bit prolific, wasn't he, down there?
Yeah, he did alright. He scored a few here and there. So yeah, he was the main man at Worcester sort of as I was growing up. So he was my hero, and obviously, fortunately, got to play with him a little bit as well, which was fantastic.
Did you learn from him? Did you pick up things from him?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, definitely. He watched the way he went about his business. He was sort of a little bit before his time in terms of fitness and things like that. He's obviously big and strong, but he worked hard at his fitness, and then just the way he went about hitting balls and things was really good. He was one of those you had to go to him and sort of pick his brain. So it probably took me 2 or 3 years to really get the best out of Hickey. By the end, obviously playing in the first team and things, I spent a lot of time in coffee shops or in the hotel bars and things like that. So I managed to pick his brains quite a lot.
What's been your best moment in cricket?
Like this year, actually, winning T20 finals day. That was an experience I've never had before, and very lucky to have. Obviously, we never even got to finals day before, so the day itself was amazing. And then obviously icing on the cake, winning it and winning the trophy. I think I've only won 2 major trophies in 16 years, so that was a pretty special experience.
Kevin Sharp's on the same episode as you this week. He's doing a trio with Andrew Gale and Anthony McGrath. When I interviewed them, he said he was sat next to the trophy in his office, and basically he's not laying it out of his sight. He's excited as anything. He was. I interviewed him at the start of the season as well, Daryl, when he was taking on the role at Worcestershire, and he said, he was a little bit nervous. He was looking forward to it, but the one thing he wanted to do was win a trophy. So big tick there for all of you, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think sort of him, especially, but also Moeen actually played a pivotal role that day. Just very much a calming influence on the whole group, so that the two of them together actually put everyone at ease. And we just enjoyed it. And a lot of credit to Sharpie for the way he went about things this year. And obviously not an easy job taking over from Bumpy, who'd been there for so long. So yeah, he did a fantastic job.
I had an inkling that might be your answer to that question, but there's another question off the back of that. What's your worst moment in cricket?
Oh, I don't know, it's hard to make. I think obviously we've been relegated a few times, which is pretty tough, but I think overall we've had pretty pretty fond memories over the 16 years. I remember a second team game. I went as captain. There was only 2 staff members on the staff that time. I got out first ball of the game, and they went on to drop a couple of catches, bowled 2 overs for 20 odd after we got bowled out for not many. So that was a pretty bad day, and I think that was my first experience of captaincy when I was about 19. So that wasn't a great day. I think I dropped Ian Bell twice as well at the time. He was playing for Warwickshire second team. So he went on to get a big 100. So that was one of the worst moments, certainly.
That's a moment you spent years of counselling trying to forget, and I just brought that back up again.
Absolutely. That was all on day 1 as well, believe it or not. We had 2 more days after that.
If you could trade lives, Darryl Mitchell, with any current cricketer for a day, who would you like to live in the skin of for 24 hours?
Oh, wow. In cricket.
You could go down a different route if you want to. It's up to you.
No, we'll go cricket. I think 2 reasons. I've always fancied bowling a bit of spin and getting me overs in. So I reckon Moeen Ali. I think obviously also the way he goes about his business is a hugely impressive character, Mo, and I've known him a very, very long time. So the way he goes about everything, and he's living his dream in the minute, playing for England and doing well. So I reckon I'd fancy a day batting at 6 or 7 in the Test team and bowling a few spinners. Be perfect job in cricket, I think.
He's obviously out in Sri Lanka at the moment. There are a lot of reports prior to the squad being announced. Your name was mentioned quite a lot in terms of the opening slot. Did you think you might get close?
No, not really. You never know, do you, I guess? But I think obviously really impressed this year by Rory, the way he went about his business. I think rightfully he was well in front of me, and yeah, I mean he's done fantastically well. He did fantastically well against everyone, I suppose, but certainly against Worcester he got plenty of runs. So yeah, no, I always thought he'd be the man to fill that gap. Probably a little bit unlucky that he didn't play during the summer. Yeah, so I mean there's plenty of options. I don't think time's on my side now either, really being 34 years old, but I would obviously love the opportunity and still would, but just keep trying to do what I do and try and score as many runs as I can.
Do you think that's probably the door shut on that now, or do you still have a little bit of hope?
Yeah, I mean I did, to be honest, I thought the door would probably shut a couple of years ago, and then obviously my name got mentioned a few times this summer with problems out at the top of the order, and obviously with Cookie retiring as well. So yeah, I mean you never say never, do you? I think obviously Bats went a couple of years ago at 38, 39, so you never say never, but yeah, I think it's probably unlikely, and they'll be probably looking for a younger model, shall we say.
Discover one of the most beautiful lifestyle resorts in the Caribbean at the Accra Beach Hotel and Spa. Located on the south coast of Barbados, this beachfront property offers 224 rooms, sparkling pools, 4 restaurants, 3 bars, an on-site spa, event and conferencing facilities, and a welcoming team providing unparalleled relaxation to make your stay a memorable one. What are you waiting for? Book your reservation at this award-winning hotel today and experience the Caribbean dream.
If I was to put you in charge of cricket for a day, what would you change?
I think after this year, I think the wickets in first class cricket, I think certainly, probably along with that, probably the playing as many 4-day games as we did in April and September. I think we played 8 in April and September, which is obviously over half of your games, which made things extremely tough, and we played on some pretty spicy wickets this year. So I think that's the one thing I'd change. But as a batter, you would say that, wouldn't you?
Usually when I ask that question, the people that I ask it to are nowhere near the decision-making process. But obviously with your role at the PCA, you're having a little bit of a say in what's around the corner for the English domestic scene. How do you see that at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's all happening, isn't it? Really, with the new tournament and also the county partnership agreement that's being sort of negotiated at the moment. So yeah, I think we're going on the right path. I think we're on the right lines. I sat on the ECB Cricket Committee last week, which was pretty positive as well. So I think obviously nothing's decided yet. I think the ECB have got a board meeting later in the month as well. So yeah, I think we're on the right path. I think a lot of the new domestic structure that was published a month ago now, maybe was it 2-3 weeks ago, maybe. Yeah. That I think there's a lot of good stuff in that, and I think that from our point of view as a PCA, I think the consultation process for that was very good. Taking a lot of opinions from around the game, including the players. So yeah, I think we're okay. I think it'll be an interesting couple of years, I think, with a new tournament coming in. But we'll see how that goes.
You mentioned the word consultation. You were maybe not consulted enough at the start of the process, but that's got better as it's gone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll give the ECB a bit of credit there. I think they've obviously, after that sort of bit of a clash when over the announcement of the 100, I think the sort of the consultation processes, and we've been involved heavily throughout the process. Really, I think there's been a lot of discussion. We've had a lot of focus groups with a lot of players, and they came presented at our end of year summit to all the PCA reps and things as well. So yeah, it's certainly, communication's definitely got a lot better as time's gone on, and things have moved in the right direction as a result.
With the T20 Blast being so successful, and obviously you've got very recent positive memories of that tournament, do we need the 100?
Well, I think players were pretty unanimous that they wanted a new tournament. Obviously, at the time, that was imagined that would be T20. Obviously, they're moving down a different format in terms of the 100 if that does get passed at the board. I get the rationale behind it. I think, obviously, like you say, finals day this year was certainly the highlight of my career, and something very special. Can you have two T20 tournaments in the same sort of 6-month period, or probably in the height of summer, probably over a 3-month period? I'm not sure. So maybe going away from T20 and trying something slightly different may work, and hopefully we can preserve the T20 Blast in its current state, and hopefully that can thrive and still continue to grow like it has done over the last few seasons. So I guess the answer is yes, it probably does need to be something different if we're going to entertain having two short form tournaments over such a short period of time. I don't think T20 tournaments would be ideal.
You were involved in the trials, weren't you? You I think captained a couple and watched some others as they were tested out. I've heard you've got your opinions on playing in it, and you thought it was a decent thing and the skills were similar to T20, and that was a positive. If you could put yourself in a spectator's position, do you think spectators will take to it and enjoy it?
Yeah, I think so. It felt like everything happened a little bit quicker looking on from the sides. Obviously, I think the average sort of innings was just over the hour mark, maybe hour and 3, hour and 4 minutes and things like that. So I get that. I think that worked okay. There was a couple of things that I think need ironing out, certainly in terms of probably umpires' signals to the end of the 5-ball blocks. Obviously, you don't have the sort of obvious change of end of the over as you do in T20 cricket, where everyone changes ends and stuff. So I think they need to come up with a decent signal for that. And some of the things worked well. I think the strategy break sort of in between, I think it was in between 30 and 70 balls or something like that. You had to take a 2-minute or 2.5 minute time out, if you like. And I think that worked quite well. Certainly Samit, when he did it in his game, changed the game by doing that and changed the momentum of things. And that, again, quite a nice sort of couple of minutes for people to take their eyes away from the cricket for a period and actually, I don't know, check the phone or talk to the family or friends, whoever they're with at the ground. So I think things like that will work quite well. But ultimately, I think it'll be all come down to how it's presented in the grounds with the big screens and things like that. Obviously, our trials are very much centred on the format and the actual cricket itself. I think, obviously, what will come across from a spectator's point of view is how the matches are actually portrayed in the grounds and again on TVs as well, and how that sort of comes across on the BBC and obviously on Sky as well, who generally do a very, very good job, don't they, with their cricket sort of broadcasting.
It's a good move to get it back on free to air as well, isn't it? Some cricket on free to air, because when I was a kid, Daryl, I used to watch it on the BBC Channel 4, go outside with my bat and try and be like my heroes. Never got to be quite as good as you guys, but you need to get it to as many people as possible, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously 2005 proved that with the parade through the streets and at Trafalgar Square, the number of people getting touched by being on Channel 4. Obviously we've gone away from that, and I mean Sky have presented cricket brilliantly, I think, and obviously pumped a lot of money into the sport, which has been great. But I do think going back to terrestrial TV will be a massive thing. Similar to yourself, I remember sitting there at sort of 10:30 waiting for an 11 o'clock start for test matches on BBC Two, I think it was at the time, and getting that excitement when the test match special music came on and listening to Richie Benaud and things. So I think it's a great move, and it'd be good to get as many youngsters back watching cricket, because obviously they're the future, and I think the ECB have done some great things with all stars and things, and getting the participation at that level up, and obviously being on TV can only help that thrive further.
Your role at the PCA, you've picked a very nice time to get involved in it, haven't you? Because there's a lot going on. It must be quite exciting from your side of things. Yeah,
I mean, it's been brilliant in terms of time to be involved at the coalface of cricket, if you like. I think there's obviously been a hell of a lot going on and a hell of a lot internally at the PCA as well. So from an experience point of view, it's been amazing. I think from a time management point of view, it's certainly had its challenges, particularly in the season when you're trying to concentrate on playing the game as well. So it's been tough at times to manage the sort of workload and things. But I think I've done that relatively well, and really enjoyed the experience. And like I said, I'm sure the experiences that I've had will stand me in good stead moving forward for my sort of a future outside of playing cricket. I think it will stand me in good stead, certainly.
There's a question on your future coming up a little bit later, but we'll get to that in a second. Thank you so much for listening to the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast. Your feedback has been both encouraging and very, very welcome. Our listeners are growing week on week. The podcast is now available on Spotify, Audio Boom, iTunes, YouTube, and all major platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on @cricket_badger. Email the show, cricketbadger@hotmail.com. Respond to the points made. Make suggestions for future content and play your part as the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast goes from strength to strength. Best player you've played against or with? Who's the best player you've shared a cricket pitch with?
Well, I played against Shane Warne, so obviously that takes some beating. I'd have thought. I managed to see out a maiden from him, and then got out to Sean Udall the other end, which was a bit disappointing the following over. So I really actually faced Warne over, but he's obviously a legend in the game, and somebody asks those sort of questions, it's very hard not to mention his name. I played an MCC game with Brian Lara once as well, so there's probably two of the greats. So I think those two would have to be right up there in terms of longevity. I think playing with Syed Ajmal was pretty special for a couple of years. He took so many wickets for us, and his performances were outstanding. So I think he'd have to get a mention as well.
If you could meet anyone, living or dead, who would you like to meet?
Oh God, that's a tough one, isn't it? If I could meet anybody, Paul McGrath, I reckon. I'm a big Villa fan, so I'd like to meet Paul one day, I reckon. Yeah, he's one of my heroes from a sporting outside of cricket, so I reckon he'd be a good one. Tiger Woods would be an interest. I'm sure he'd have a few decent stories as well. So I think he's one of the great sportsmen of my era, so he'd be up there as well. I do love my golf as well.
You could have a night out with those two. You'd probably never be seen again, would you?
yeah, that would be. Yeah. I'd certainly be an interesting dinner party, wouldn't it?
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you'd do?
I'd definitely have a big holiday. I think I've never been to America, and I've always fancied going to America. So I reckon maybe start off at Disney World with the kids. I think something like that.
Who would play you in Daryl Mitchell the movie?
Oh, I keep getting told I look like Gary Neville, but I suppose he's not really an actor, is he? Jimmy Nail is another one that comes up a lot, so he's done a bit of acting, so I reckon Jimmy Nail would be a good one.
I've never looked at you and thought Jimmy Nail, to be honest. It has to be said.
No, I haven't really, but it has been mentioned a few times. I think it's a nose.
Is Crocodile Shoes your song on the karaoke or something?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, I could do that. I reckon I could knock that out, no problem.
What is your first memory of being really excited?
It certainly would have involved sport. I was always a sport nut as a kid, but I remember Villa winning the Coca-Cola Cup as it was there in '96, but that was probably I would have had memories before that. Italia '90, I remember Italia '90 and
Gazza's tears.
But before that, David Platt's goal against Belgium in the last minute of extra time.
The volley, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go for that one, I reckon.
Yeah, that was a bit special because that was right at the death, wasn't it?
I think I'd have been 6 or 7 then, so yeah, I reckon that was a pretty early memory. Being allowed to stop it late to watch it.
What was the last time you can remember feeling really nervous?
T20 quarter-final, definitely. That was certainly the most nerve-wracking I've been on a cricket field my career, so that really stands out. Finals day actually took in my stride a little bit. It was pretty good, but I think the quarter-final, having played in 6 or 7 quarter-finals before, lost them all, and being at home, probably with all due respect to Gloucester, probably the first time we've been probably strong favourites to win a quarter-final as well, so that was really nerve-wracking, and fortunately Cal Ferguson got us home in the second half of that game.
Was there an element with finals day that, because Worcestershire had never been there before, it was a case of going there and enjoying it, and and enjoying the first time that Worcestershire had ever been to a finals day, and maybe the pressure was off a tad and you just went and enjoyed your cricket?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I mean, there wasn't too many pundits who thought we would win. I think they obviously looked at playing against a really strong Lancashire side with Joss back in the team and things like that, and then Sussex obviously with their bowling attack. A lot of the talk was about other counties rather than ourselves, so I think that took a bit of pressure off. But then I think we were already history makers, being the first Worcestershire side to get there, so I think we enjoyed that. We knew we'd make a difference. That quarter-final was a big deal for us, getting over that line there. Yeah, I think we just took it in our stride, and again, I mentioned earlier, having Mo as captain, I think just had a complete sort of cool, calm outlook and everything. I think even in that final, there was 25,000 people, whatever it was in the stadium. I think Mo was the coolest, calmest bloke in the ground, both on the field and off. So I think he had a big influence on that as well.
I saw the huddle, the big circle at the end of it. There was a video that came onto Twitter where you're all singing the song at the end of it. Fantastic atmosphere, I'd imagine, at the end of that night, and probably a sore head the next day.
Yeah, we certainly we enjoyed our evening. That is for sure. I think some of those moments going over to all the Worcestershire supporters and friends and family that were in the crowd, I think right at the end there, that was something that was very, very special. And we had obviously a lot of people in the change rooms after. I don't think we left the ground till about 2:30 in the morning or something like that. So special memories made that day for sure.
Sharpie was saying he's had to go for a 3-week detox in the Himalayas to try and get over it.
Yeah, something like that.
What celebrity annoys you the most?
I don't know if he annoys me the most, but I listened to Danny Mills this morning on Sky Sports News, and he got on my nerves a little bit. I wasn't sure about some of his comments.
What was he talking about?
Oh, just about the weekend football, really, and his opinions. And I think we differed quite a lot in our opinions. I don't get me wrong, he knows more about football than I do, probably, but he wound me up a little bit.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you with 10 being the Fonz?
Oh, I'm a very much an in-between, I reckon. I'm going to go 5 or 6, something like that, in the middle.
Okay.
I was probably cooler 10 years ago than I am now in our dressing room, that's for sure.
If your plane was about to crash, who would you want sitting next to you?
That's a tough question, isn't it? They're obviously in trouble too. Probably Mo and Ali. He'd be calm, he'd be fine, he'd be relaxed, so I'll have Mo next to me.
You could have a net, couldn't you, down the middle of the plane?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you had access to a time machine, where and when would you like to go?
I would like to go back to the Ian Botham era at Worcester and be in that dressing room. I reckon that had been exciting times. Obviously, a lot of success on the field, but a lot of partying off it.
I would imagine it would have been quite eventful.
Yeah, I some of the stories here from Steve Rose and Damien Dogavere and things around that era. Then, yeah, certainly would have been a great time to be involved, I think.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you choose?
I'm quite happy in Worcester, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think I'd ever sort of grown up here and got all my friends and family here, so I don't think I'd ever move. But probably one of my favourite places to visit would be Cape Town. I love Cape Town. I also like New Zealand as well. So one of those two, probably Cape Town or Queenstown.
If I gave you the chance to change one thing about yourself, what would you choose?
I'd be a bit taller. Definitely be a bit taller, I think.
And finally, Daryl Mitchell, and thank you very much for joining me this week. What will you be doing in 10 years' time? We talked about this before, didn't we? You're getting experience with the PCA and broadening your horizons a little bit doing that. Is that what you see yourself going into? Maybe cricket admin or something like that, or is something different?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I like to. I've enjoyed certainly that the PCA role, and I think probably steered me away a little bit from the coaching. I've done a few coaching badges, but I think certainly, but sport in particular is my passion. So it might take me a bit longer than 10 years, but I'd like to be MD or CEO of a big sort of sports organisation one day. Whether that's football, rugby, cricket, I'm not 100% sure. I guess you have to go where the path takes you and see. But definitely, I'd love to be involved in sport long term.
I would imagine you'd like to be back at Edgbaston next year for finals day again, trying to retain that trophy too, because I know Kevin Sharp's going to take a strong man to prize it out of his fingers, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great day, and something we said that in the dressing room after, or in the days after, certainly, about being the start of something, and obviously massive to win a trophy, but we want to win a second and a third and a fourth. So T20, obviously being in Division 2 promotions, massive as well, but I think T20 or a Lord's final would be pretty special, and something that our lads will be keen to taste success again.
It's been great to talk to you, Daryl. Thank you very much for joining me on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast this week.
No problems at all. Thanks very much for having me. Cheers.
It's that Badger style.
Thank you very much then. 4 very good guests, I think you'll agree, this week. Andrew Gale, Anthony McGrath, Kevin Sharp and Daryl Mitchell. Thanks to all 4 of them for joining me on the Cricket Badger Radio Show podcast this week. We'll be back again next week for more cricket chat. Until then, Badgers, enjoy your cricket.
It's that Badger style.